Good morning, it's Anand here from Osho, Ireland, and we are now on the 31st technique from the Osho Book of Secrets. And this is the second of the looking techniques. I'm just kind of going to talk for a minute or so just to give some people a bit of time to log on. I know sometimes I start straight away at 11 and they might miss the first minute or so of me talking. So actually I don't know what to say now, I've gone blank. Okay, so this looking technique, and just to talk about the eyes for a minute, Osho talks about in the introduction of this book from the Osho Book of Secrets that our eyes are liquid, and our eyes are the most closest parts to our soul, or that part of us that's the closest part, and that they move all the time. And these techniques are about stopping the eyes moving, because when our eyes stop moving, that's when we can go inward. So what I'm going to do now is that all of these techniques, looking techniques, are about keeping the eyes still, so that then we're kind of almost by accident, we kind of have to look within. So this technique is look at an object as a whole. So what I'd say to you is just grab any object that you have nearby, anything, it doesn't matter. And the instructions are, look upon a bowl without seeing the sides of the material. In a few moments, become aware. So the instructions are, look upon a bowl without seeing the sides of the material. In a few moments, become aware. Now, there's a wonderful tip or technique that Osho shares in this. And what he says is, he said, ordinarily, we look at everything in parts. So if I'm looking at you, I might start with your head, I might look at your neck, your chest, whatever. But I don't see you as a whole. I see you in parts. And we look at all things like that. This technique is you look at something in its entirety. And Osho says, first look at a thing moving from one fragment to the other. And that's where your eyes are moving. When you look at an object as a whole, your eyes can't move. And what eventually happens is you go back inward. And Osho shares a little fun technique. So this card here, I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is an old kind of children's picture card, a psychological trick of what can you see. Do you see a young woman or do you see an old woman? Have a look. What do you see first? And does it change? So for me, when I look at this card, when I see this first, I see a young woman. But the more I stare at it, without trying to look for the old woman appears to me. But I can't, when I see the old woman, I cannot see the young woman at the same time. And this is something to play with. And I've shared this image here on Instagram and also on the Osho Ireland Facebook page. But you can't see things both at the same time. You see one or the other. But this technique shows that something can disappear very quickly. So I see the old woman now. I can't see the young woman. You can make anything disappear when you look at something as a whole. And he said, with this, when you become, I'll just read this thing. He said, even you can make your wife or husband disappear, which I find very funny. He says, those who can practice this technique can live in the world very easily. Any moment, they can make anything disappear. Remember this. You are bothered with your wife or your husband, you can have him or her disappear. And then he goes on to later on with shares another lovely thing that you can play around with. This is a wonderful technique to play with. Lie down on the ground, look at the black sky, and then fix yourself on one star. Concentrate on it, stare at it. Narrow down your consciousness to one star. Forget other stars. Concentrate, narrow down your gaze. Other stars will be there just on the fringe, on the boundary, but by and by they will disappear, and only one star will remain. Then go on staring. A moment will come when that star will disappear. And when that star disappears, you will appear to yourself. So the object I have that I'm going to look at, and if you want to share with me, I just take my glasses off. For me, looking at something with glasses creates a barrier. So I have this object that I'm going to stare at, or I'm going to look at as a whole. Not the sides of it, not the color, but the form as is, the form as is. So enjoy. This is something that you can do with any object, and you could do it any time of the day. It can get a little interesting in that the object can often change in your eyes. I don't know if you had that experience. I did. It kept moving and changing, and sometimes my eyes would see fragments, and then sometimes I'd see it as whole, and it started to move a bit like the card with the old lady and the young lady. I just kept it short for you to experience a taste of it. These are all about a taste, but you can go much longer in this with any object that you wish. It's also something very nice to do when you're outside, and often we'll see a tree or a bush or a flower. Oh, that's a lovely tree. That's a lovely, and all the time we're labeling it. If you can drop labeling, naming, categorizing if it's beautiful, ugly, whatever, if you look at it in its pure form, something happens, something unique happens. You get to have a direct experience when you look at the object as a whole. And this is what Tantra is about experiencing, a direct experience that bypasses the mind and throws you into your inner self. So play with it. This is very easy. This is a nice, easy technique to start with, playing with this. Right now I see the old woman. Enjoy having fun with this, and thank you for joining me. And I'm back here next Sunday for another looking technique. And I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye-bye.